Hello guys, hope you're all doing well today. Coming at you with the next excerpt of my first novel in a series, Black and White Odyssey of Eden. Continuing where I left off, so let's have at this. What was that on his face? One of the students crowded to one side of the bench whispered to another. He looked like a monster. Why do we have to sit here? I want to go home, another whispered back loudly. Catherine, Emily, swiped her hand across the apparition of the child, James, before her in explosive anger, retching her heart and mind for ways to stop the child from one day becoming the man she knew and following the fool's errand of a life that he would one day follow. "Damn you, James," she said, eyes bloodshot with tears, Thomas standing behind her in the teletracer. What's going on? Why are they afraid of him?" the scientist said as he observed the younger James. Oh no. Chapter 11. Going for broke. His face was buried in his hands as tears poured from his tightly closed eyes, uncontrollably. Sitting in the metal chair, electronic leads connected to every appendage. The room was dark, almost pitch black, save for the light emanating from the solitary screen he had blaring in front of his face. How could this happen? I couldn't save them, he said, the words barely managing to travel through his lips, in between his choking sobs. The invention meant nothing. Like a coward, all he could do now was escape. And then we break to the next section. James sat in his makeshift laboratory, contemplating for several hours his next course of action, staring into nothing, though seeing an infinity of possibilities within his mind's eye. This workspace, developed in an old shed that resided in a small forested area that overlooked the apartment building where he lived, stood as a solitary escape from his banal workaday life. The news blaring on the black and white television he had set up on a primitive wooden desk he built out of disparate pieces of lumber lying about the area around the shed. Tensions are at extreme levels, perhaps higher than they have ever been in the modern era. It isn't known for certain at the moment how they got their hands on them, but it has been confirmed that the terrorist group known as Al-Azra has acquired at least half a dozen nuclear warheads mounted on fully operational intercontinental ballistic missiles, and suspicions are likely to confirm at a future date exactly what we all fear, that Russia has played a lethal part in this game. The newscast that he's listening to, that's what they said. The scientist scoffed at the news report. He knew full well how this random group of unorganized, bloodthirsty, inhuman beings had gotten their uncomprehending fingers on them. In the back channels of society, rumblings had been everywhere for several years about a massive manipulation occurring. The scientists sneered more in disillusionment, knowing the path they were about to tread. The economies of the world had already begun to collapse, having been in a slow fall for decades now. Riots were a common occurrence in all major cities across the globe, usually with no known cause. Only the general dissent of a hopeless populace, feeling powerless in the face of the edifice of institutional force that seemed to surround them in every direction. Even the scientist's own city, of which the shed overlooked, had already been half burned to the ground, his apartment building bearing the scars of an uncontrolled blaze. The government could not afford to pay even temporary firefighters or for their required equipment. These days, the scientist found solace in his tinkering. It distracted him from his solitary life. He had no family anymore, no children, no lovers. Just him, alone. In some ways, he preferred it that way. It allowed him to focus. But deep-seated in his soul was an eternal longing to be understood, to be connected with everyone else. Just as well, he figured. Surely in the crumbling world around him, he was not alone in feeling alone. How else could one explain the chaos? Only peoples who fundamentally saw themselves as separate from one another could openly enter into violent conflict. And that's it for this section. I'll come at you with the next one later. Love y'all. Peace.